No, that's not makeup. It's just how my eyes look after seeing a late showing of the Batman. Alright, so cringy intro aside, this movie is special. I don't like using the words game changer. Well, I do like using them. You hear them a lot. People throw them out there a lot. Game changer, masterpiece. This movie definitely is those. It is insane what this movie did. Like what it's going to do to modern day Hollywood spectacle and commercial movies. The way you're seeing this movie advertised, Little Caesars. I got these posters from Little Caesars. This is not a movie for like any like fun. It's not fun like the stuff you're used to seeing at movie theaters. And this is, I can't believe it happened. I can't believe the risk they took. Matt Reeves has been getting, you've been hearing that name a lot, the director of this movie. He did Dawn and War of the Planet of the Apes, which I love those movies, but a lot of people didn't see him. This one's going to put him in the limelight and really let people notice him. And he carries that same style into this movie, but he elevated and upgraded so much. Like, this movie's challenging. I watched it. I made that intro the first night I saw it. I saw it again last night, and I loved it. Like, I loved it both times, but I really was speechless the first time. I couldn't think of how to, like, make sense of it and how to articulate it and how to even critique it. Like, if I just could think of one right now, like, one of my critiques, just trying to nitpick, was Alfred's screen time. I thought there's a kind of, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's not really a wrap-up for Alfred's character, and that was one thing I was upset with the first time, but the second time it didn't bother me as much. Also, the Riddler the first time felt a little over the top to me. The second time I watched it last night, I was captivated by him, terrified. He had me, like moving around in my seat, feeling emotions, like, in certain dialogue spills he has. He's very sadistic, but Paul Dano captures the character perfectly. He's supposed to be over the top. He's supposed to be a lunatic, and they ride that line so well with every character. So yeah, Paul Dano, hats off to him. That's another great. Batman always brings out the best in villains and actors in a way. I mean, I love Tom Hardy's Bane, Heath Ledger's Joker. Nothing needs to be said. It's my favorite performance of all time. But these characters are so rich, and this movie reminds you why this property of Batman will never die and how you can always change it and flip it and do something new. And speaking of crazy lunatics, the Riddler, you got the Penguin. There's a lot of weirdos in this movie. The Batman is weird, and he's a lunatic, and he's crazy, and it's amazing. Pattinson was the perfect choice for this. I'm not even going to talk about the bandwagon of hating on him. I don't care. I'm not going to give that any attention. It's a normie thing. People that don't watch a lot of movies, I guess, don't realize what this guy's capable of and are stuck in one place. He has been doing great work. He's my favorite actor alive right now. Tenet, Good Time, The Lighthouse, The Devil All the Time. Those are some of my favorite movies of the past 10 years. And then this just put it in stone for me. Like, this is a legendary performance, what he did. I think it requires the most acting of any actor has ever had to do in a Batman suit, which is what I thought from the trailers. But the trailers are very different than the final product. I wanted to see visceral fighting. I wanted to see all that. You get that, but it's almost out of place when the action happens because the movie is so layered in atmosphere and dread and the psychosis of a lot of characters. It's a very perspective-driven movie. A lot of the movie is a detective story. There's a lot of talking, a lot of conversations, which people have kind of nitpicked that it's slow. And there are some slow beats. I'm not going to lie. It's not a perfect movie. But whenever, like, Batman is talking to Catwoman or anybody's talking, the camera has such a way of putting you in the moment with the people and making you feel like you're right there on their shoulder watching it. Matt Reeves used this weird lens focus. I don't know how he did it, but it makes the character or whoever the actor on screen completely prominent. You can see everything on their face, all their pores, and then everything in the background's hollowed out and hazy and like out of focus completely. And it is such a haunting way of like capturing Gotham. But that doesn't take away from the production. You get a lot of wide shots of the city and what it looks like, and it's beautiful. It starts out beautiful. The first 20 minutes of this movie is probably my favorite opening to a comic book movie. The Kurt Cobain song has been stuck in everybody's head. This movie's, I can't wait to see the way it sits with audiences. Kind of like Spider-Man, but this is a whole different beast. This is not for everybody. People are might walk out of this movie because it is long, but it's also very challenging. Like I said, it puts you in a seat of thinking of characters that you usually want to have fun with and thinking of them in a different way, and it's elevated and heightened. The emotions of everybody is just very strong in this movie. I love Catwoman, Selena Kyle. She's in it a good bit. That's the thing, they do something I also liked in this movie where there's a lot of characters, a lot of pieces, but they're all a piece of Batman's story. It's all through his face, there's a lot of POV shots and a lot of those focusing moments, and they make you feel like you're in the mask with him, but not like a cheesy way. Like you see promotions for a video game that might say that, oh, be the Batman. The Arkham games are incredible. This does that though, but in a way that is artistic as fuck. I couldn't believe it. And it's something that you're just not used to. It really attacks your senses, and it sits with you. I don't know, like after finishing it, it's been running through my head a lot, and it's very, like, it's a heavy movie. And while I've talked about Catwoman and Riddler, I gotta mention Colin Farrell. He's one of my favorite actors as well. I love him. And I knew this weird of a casting choice, it had to be something brilliant. Like, you're not just going to hire this handsome guy, Irish man, to play the Penguin without something up your sleeve. And he is over the top in a way, but he's like the comic relief in this movie, but even whenever it's not forced comedy, like he's just talking, that's how the character would act. And you're almost wanting somebody to say something of levity because the tension in this movie is so sharp. It's so tight. And when he's on screen, it does give you a little bit of the fun. But it also, there's more to his performance than just the fun. He's really good. He's got a chip on his shoulder. I cannot wait to see. I mean, he had a HBO show greenlit already on HBO Max months ago, before the movie even came out. I know COVID happened. The whole transition for this movie happening was wild. Pattinson got cast like in 2017, and I've been preaching since then that just wait, he's going to kill it. And he killed it in a way I did not expect. I did not see this coming. The whole movie was just a fresh approach while still capturing all the spirits of the characters, taking you to dark places. It's the darkest Batman movie, I would say. I don't think that's a question. And these actors, I've watched the interviews, they were inspired by a lot of the best material, like The Long Halloween, a lot of the good stories in the comics and graphic novels, and then even the Arkham games and The Mask of the Phantasm. They mentioned all these in different interviews. So like these guys know some of the best Batman stories out there, and this movie is one of the best Batman stories out there now. But it's not trying to be those other stories, but it also has similarities in the way that it shows the pain. Bruce Wayne is Bruce Payne in this movie. He's hurting. He is going through so much. He wears the mask because he's crazy. There's all these, I mentioned the Riddler, the Penguin. There's all these psychopaths. You want that in a Batman movie. The craziest person in this movie is Batman. You see, they establish that he's 2 years in, and you're just you're kind of figuring it out when it's happening. It's almost like, all right, we know the story, but this is, all right, 2 years, that's simple enough. But there's more beneath that you got to think about, and you fill it in on your own. The guy doesn't know how to do a Playboy persona yet. He is so fresh into Batman, it's a thrill for him. It's an addiction. He doesn't know how to put the mask down yet. And when he gets older, he'll get better at that, and he'll get better at balancing a life, better at keeping the heat off of him from his identity getting spilled. And there's even, I'm not going to spoil it, one of the best scenes in the movie is this play of dialogue. And you think Bruce Wayne's identity is revealed, and I mean, I'm trying not to spoil it, but there's a scene that touches on his identity, and I think all I can say is that scene was important, and it was one of the best scenes in the movie. It's an all-timer. The dialogue and the characters going at each other was great, but it's going to change this Batman in the future. So in the next movie, that's his lesson. He's like, oh, I do got to maintain a different image now. Like, because he writes it on his face that he's hurt, even the few times you see him in Bruce Wayne. And hats off to Pattinson for wearing the costume almost every scene in the movie. He is addicted to this role of being the detective. Bruce Wayne is. And there's no Bruce Wayne in this movie hardly. Even when he is Bruce Wayne, he's got the eye makeup on, ready to put his mask on. To do, like, he's always searching. He's always wanting to be the detective. And it's just different, but it's brilliant. I kind of summed up, I guess, all my favorite things. Like, I'd say the highlights for me, the best performances for me were Andy Serkis as Alfred. Had me just shivering every time he's on screen. Like, he conveyed so much without knowing a lot about him. I can't wait to see more of him. I thought he didn't get enough closure, though. It's one of my only nitpicks. And then the Penguin, every scene with the Penguin was just fucking magic. That car chase, like, it's all great. And there's not a lot of CGI. I don't know how they filmed some of this. It's kind of insane, and it's inspiring as hell that somebody was able to actually make action. You're watching stuff that's not on a computer. Like, this is actually people in the streets doing this, and it was very refreshing. The whole movie's refreshing, but it also will make you feel really dark and weird, and it'll make you look at Batman in a different way. Even if you're a fan, if you're a casual Batman fan, it is it has an independent feel, but it also gives you the satisfaction that you come to the movies for. And I'm, like, figuring it out as I'm talking about it. As you can see, I'm still processing the movie. If I had to give it a number ranking, or I usually do, like, out of 5, I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. I'm sure the more I live through this era of this movie, it's gonna be like, I already know I love it. I love the character. I just was overwhelmed by the idea of how they wanted to show him this time around. And like I said, I'm excited to see the way it hits audiences, because it's so weird, it's so dark, people are gonna be surprised when they walk into it. I mean, the opening scene is morbid as hell, so you're either gonna be with it or you're gonna be against it, or you might just kind of like it. I don't know. For me, I loved it, but I would require a second viewing. I'm starting to see that and hear that more. Second viewing, this shit was magic to me. I was locked in. The first time I had all these thoughts of what it could be, and I was getting distracting myself. Second time, I just sat with the movie and loved it, and was just anticipating, oh, I know this next scene's about to happen. But that's the thing, the movie's not about the action. If I had to give my favorite scene in the movie, without spoiling too much, it's a hospital scene, dialogue between two characters, and it made me cry both times. It's an incredible scene that demonstrates what he's all about, and it was just so simple. The writing was so endearing and personal, and yeah, everybody brought it with this movie. And then the music, Jesus, Michael Giacchino did the score for this and No Way Home, which is crazy. The guy can do both, because they're both very different feels, obviously, as I've said. This music is horrific. Something I didn't really touch on, but I guess I will now, is this movie has a horror element to it, unlike any superhero you've ever seen. The opening Batman moment, you just hear him stepping out from the shadows, and then they carried that on through all the movie. Even when he's doing detective work, you can hear his footsteps are louder than the cops around him, and it's just like, damn, like, they made him feel like a presence. The shots of behind his back, just seeing his leather cape and everything, and, like, Batman looked awesome in this movie. And Pattinson, he took away all the disbelief. Like, he ate up this role. He really was Batman. I was very, like, confident going into this, but I really gotta say he probably is my favorite Batman in the suit. I'm not even trying to do, like, some big overdramatic thing. It's just like how it is. He is what I wanted to see. He's a fan of the source material. He knows how to make the character right. So yeah, the movie's pretty damn perfect. I would recommend it. I would recommend seeing it twice, finding a theater with loud sounds. When that engine of the Batmobile starts up, everybody's saying the Batmobile is like a separate character. That Batmobile chase scene, you only get to see the Batmobile like once. That chase scene is something for the ages. I mean, my feet were shaking. It was fucking crazy. But yeah, I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. If I had to rate, or whatever. I'm not going to have a discussion about the best Batman movies or whatever, because I'm not ready for that. I love them all. It's one of my favorite characters. But this movie is a It's just something you got to see. You got to experience. If you're even watching this and you're interested in the character, then check it out. I'm sure it's going to do well at the box office. But yeah, as a fan, this is a love letter to me as a Batman fan. I'm probably going to see it again tomorrow, 3 times in one weekend. That's like 9 hours, 10 hours. Gosh, that's kind of psychotic. But yeah, thanks for tuning in to the Jay Shrey Way. I'm glad I got this video out. Might do a spoiler talk or something, because this movie, I really love dissecting it. It makes you feel like a detective almost with the movie, because it's something you really got to pay attention to and figure out. It's a very unique movie, everything about it. But yeah, that's my review on the Batman. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you guys later.